Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Christina. This is a pick a card reading for the week ahead or for however long the energies take to play out. The timing of it is not up to me at all. That's just sort of the intention that I put into it. So for the week ahead or like between pick a card readings, however long that takes, sometimes it varies. So for these pick a card readings, I pick an overall theme using the cards. So I'll get into that right now. So there's a really interesting theme coming through here. We have the discipline time and then the fluidity outer core, but also this inner core solidity, which is really interesting. And also the darkness moon. So I'll go through all of them individually, what each one is talking to me about, but it was coming through really interesting here because I also pulled one animal card, and we got the owl. And so this one was talking to me about the myth of Athena, actually, like in Greek mythology. And so it was also bringing in, because the last time this card came out in a previous reading, thank you to Melissa, I think the subscriber's name is, who pointed this out to me, the name of this painting called The Birth of Venus, right? I was calling it Aphrodite. And so there's this interesting thing happening in this reading today where it's kind of like there's like two, I want to say cultures is kind of how it's coming through with this inner core solidity, like the two different things, entities, whatever you want to call it, could be cultures, like Greek versus Roman, right? Like Venus and Aphrodite, they have different names or whatever it is, right? Like if you think about, like, this card always reminds me of Saturn. So if you think of Saturn, that's also, I think, it has like another name, like Kronos, right? The god of time. So there's something like this where there's like two cultures, right? Like, for example, Greek versus Roman, where they're different, they have different names, they have different, perhaps, like, the outer core, but on the more, like, deep core level, right? There's something that is shared between them, because obviously Venus and Aphrodite are the same god, right? Like, Athena, and then whatever her other name would be, are the same individual. The spirit or the soul or something is the same, but the outer appearance or the name or how we perceive it or their stories or something like that are different. Just so interesting. So anyway, so this Saturn discipline card, the time card, for the first time, I've used this deck for a while now, but the first time I've ever seen a brain in this tree. So it's kind of talking to me about, with this, especially this inner core, I feel like there's something like because it could be something like opposing ideas or opposing concepts or something like that, like our thought patterns, our beliefs or something, perhaps with another or somebody who's from like a different culture or believes something different from you or whatever it is, coming together because there's some sort of shared perhaps goal or outcome or something like that, which is really interesting because this owl here, the owl here to me represents sort of an energy of a blessing, right? Like receiving some sort of wisdom about something. But because it was coming through with the energy of Athena today, the myth of, or the god Athena, the goddess Athena, she is actually the god of war, right? Alongside with Mars or Aries. But Athena's contribution to war is the strategizing, whereas Mars is more of like sort of the bloodlust, right? The actual fighting part, the conflict, all of that sort of like the bloodlust is what was coming through, versus Athena, who's more of sort of the strategizing, the justice, the counsel is kind of how this was coming through. So there's something interesting here, especially with this darkness moon card coming out. This was at the bottom of the deck. This is the context, that I feel like there's some sort of wisdom here to be gained in perhaps some sort of council, maybe like coming together of opposing ideas that perhaps will take a bit of discipline, just because perhaps there's a potential for conflict is kind of how it's coming through. Maybe not, but maybe. We'll see. But it was also coming through. There was something else with this, because it's kind of like this one here also. They're holding a microphone, right? It's like, I feel like there will be... because it's coming through with counsel, right? It's almost like a gathering of individuals, perhaps, in order to discuss or share ideas, where it's like each person has their own words or names or labels for things, but in the end, the main goal or the main idea or the heart of the matter or the soul or the core issue is the same. That's kind of what's coming through here. So I don't know how it's going to relate to you. I feel like in each group it'll be sort of a different scenario or energy. There was something else really important coming through, but now, oh yeah, okay, with the darkness moon here. Do you know what? I'm gonna wait. I feel like that's part of a specific message. So this is the overall context of the theme of this week, that perhaps there's a darkness in terms of like not being able to see clearly, but within that space, right, within this sort of like perhaps rest or darkness or pause energy, there's some sort of wisdom that's being shared, is kind of how it's coming through. So I'm gonna pause here and I'll go into the individual groups. The timestamps are in the description box below. So for group 1, we have conclusions are within reach, the full moon eclipse. For group 2, we have surrender to the divine, the full moon. And for group 3, we have luck is on your side, the new moon in Sagittarius. So I'm gonna hold up each of the 3 groups so that you can compare. So we have group 1, group 2, and group 3. Timestamps are in the description box below. Hi group 1, let's get started with your reading. So we're gonna start off here with these 3 cards. First of all, we have the wildness electricity, which to me always talks about like being led by your heart space and solar plexus, which is a very, very prominent theme in your reading today. So I feel like there's something that you really, really cherish or something that you really care about and have been putting in a lot of work in order to get towards that goal or whatever, move forward. Because this wildness electricity, it's like finally being freed to move perhaps as fast as you want, or like because you have so much sort of electricity or energy or all of that, which is really interesting because this life breath card was the bottom of the deck, which is like the overall context of this reading. And to me, it always looks to me like being freed from some sort of constraint. It comes in with this energy. There's another card in a different deck that has almost the exact same image here of, but that comes in with sort of the death card, right? Which is this sort of like transition, which is interesting because it's like life and death, right? The two, this reading just feels so like coming together of opposites, right? Or complementary energies, like things like, life and death, right? You need one of those things in order to understand what the other is kind of how it's coming through. So there's kind of like this energy as well here with the completion west, that you're completing something, you're receiving some sort of like final piece of the puzzle, I want to say, especially with this sort of brain, right? With this discipline, I feel like it's something like, because what was coming through in also like the overall theme that I want to put into this message is that there's something that you've been perhaps waiting for, or some sort of perhaps confirmation, or something that you needed perhaps from another, or like from a collaborator or something like that, that is sort of the final piece of the puzzle in order for this next thing to come through, is kind of how it's feeling to me, with this life breath, because that's what this completion card is, kind of like the thing in the middle, or the thing that you were waiting for. It's like the last piece that you needed in order for this wildness electricity to be released, is kind of how it's feeling. And it's so fascinating here with the animal cards, because you have these really interesting cards coming out next. The golden egg and the lamb. And then you also have here, which is so fascinating, the lion and the scorpion, right? So this lamb, the lamb and the lion, right? The lion and the lamb, the flies, the cards are just flying everywhere today. That's the energy of your reading. So much electricity, right? Like perhaps like a static charge or something like that. But it's because of these two coming together. Whoever they are, however this plays out for you, the lion and the lamb, opposites, but entirely complementary, right? Because one of them is coming through as being this lamb. However this resonates for you, I'm just going to explain it generally. I'm not going to put any sort of like you versus them. It's like the lamb in this case perhaps has some sort of innocence or naivety or like purity perhaps, or just like, but I want to say that that's part of the electricity, whatever that is, right? It's like that's part of the electricity with this golden egg. This one talks to me about heart chakra and solar plexus, but it's also coming through with this energy of like perhaps this one has a message of some sort, because this kind, or like the clue, the key piece of information is kind of how it's coming through, because in Harry Potter, there's like this, the golden egg in one of the books represents sort of like this, the clue, right? It's like you have to open it underwater in order for the clue to make sense. There's like a riddle that you have to solve that gives you a hint into the next part of the journey, right? And I feel like there's something here about that, where this one has the clue or the piece of information that is needed in order to move forward. But because they're the lamb, there's some sort of like, perhaps like, again, innocence, or perhaps a vulnerability is kind of how it's coming through. Perhaps a vulnerability, whereas this lion here is the thing that's needed, right? The opposite that's needed, because they're coming out with the scorpion, right? It's coming through so much as protection for this one, whoever this is. The scorpion to me talks about like, kind of like, well, of course it's kind of like being ready to react or ready to strike perhaps towards potential dangers, I want to say. But it's kind of, so this could also be like two aspects within self as well. So keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be a dynamic between two, but there's always a range of possibilities for how this plays out. So it's like this one here is coming through with all of this protection, like a guard, or like a whatever that is. They're coming in as being a very masculine energy. There's a lot of Leo energy in this reading. So it could be that there's a Leo involved in this, or that the last Leo reading that I did might be helpful for you if you pick this group. But you also have like the sun, you have the sun card twice. This one says infinite paths, so I feel like the sun card here is representing some sort of new path or new growth or new beginning, right? Because there's been a completion, right? There's been some sort of something being revealed is kind of how it's coming through. Some sort of clue, some sort of mystery being solved through whoever the lamb is. And then it's like it's opening up some sort of new path or new task or new opportunity in some way. What's really interesting here next is this, the vessel, right? Which is coming out with the mender, which is the Queen of Cups here, because it's emphasizing this sort of message with the golden egg, right? This vessel. If you think about an egg, it is a vessel. It stores it's coming through as information, right? It stores information, or it stores something that perhaps is needing to be kept safe in some way. That's kind of what this is feeling like. It's like this one has information or some sort of perhaps like gift or something like that with the Queen of Cups that is needing protection or needing another energy to sort of perhaps even like go out ahead and clear the way, is kind of how it's coming through. But this one here with the mender, it's coming through as being like with this story in Harry Potter of like the egg needed to be opened underwater, which is sort of just representing, and again, coming out the Queen of Cups, perhaps takes a bit of care or a bit of like, because if the Queen of Cups is coming in with all this energy of like self-care or something like that, or like, because the way in which Harry opened the egg was in sort of like this, like a luxurious bathtub, right? Like that kind of thing, like that it takes perhaps a lot of patience or like time or self-care or like the mender, right? It takes like a particular perhaps skill set maybe or something like that in order to create the right environment in which to open the egg, right? There's something as well here, because this sometimes comes through as like a seed as well. It's the same sort of imagery, a seed versus an egg. It's the seed being sort of this encasing that contains all of the nutrients for which something to grow, right? So it feels like this one here, the lamb, is able to create an environment, perhaps the necessary environment in which like seeds or the egg or whatever in which to grow, right? And it's like but they can't do like this. Takes a lot of effort, it kind of feels like, or care in some way, consideration, like sensitivity maybe. It's like there's a particular set of conditions that the seed or the egg needs in order for it to bloom or grow or whatever it is. Okay, anyways, so the next couple cards here are the Two of Lotuses and the Three of Trees, which I love. So this card is obviously the partnership between the lion and the lamb, whoever they are. Because this talks to me about like just complete trust and intimacy is what this card represents to me. And then with the Three of Trees, this is coming through as being bringing new resources into an environment. Because I feel like, again, it's coming through. So there's a lot of Capricorn and Leo energy, which are both... Capricorn is Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So that's what this is feeling like. Because I also see Capricorn energy. It doesn't mean that this person or these people are Leo and Capricorn. That's the overall energy that's coming in to explain the energy of the story, where it's like, I see Capricorn energy as being almost like a farmer, right? Somebody who's able to create and nurture an environment in order to create growth and abundance and success, right? That's sort of how I'm seeing this card. There's perhaps an energy, somebody in this dynamic, I don't know who it is. It could be the lamb, maybe, who is able to bring in or nurture an environment in order to make it more abundant, is how it's coming through. Anyways, okay. And then you also have here the cosmic tree and the orbs, this is the Hermit. This is the Strength card. So it's almost coming through as like, now I'm getting this scene from The Mandalorian, where it's like Baby Yoda. This is the lamb. This is lamb, Baby Yoda. It's not the real name, right? Grogu, whatever you want to call it. The one that can use the Force. That's what this lamb is representing. They have some sort of unique sensitivity, perhaps, in order to be able to channel the Force, whatever you want to call that. But on their own, it's like when they're doing this thing that they're doing, there is a vulnerability because they are so focused. This mender is so focused on the task that they're doing that they're vulnerable, is kind of how it's coming through. And then the lion is coming through as being sort of like the Mandalorian, the one who protects, right? The one who sort of gets rid of all the dangers, or like potential dangers. The one who like strikes metaphorically in order to protect the vulnerability, is kind of how it's coming through. But it's a partnership. It's symbiotic. It's not... I want to say it's not codependent. It feels like it's very interdependent, meaning each one uses their particular skill set in order to benefit the partnership as a whole, is kind of how it's coming through. So that's how I'm seeing this with the orbs being sort of like it's coming through again with the counsel, right? It's like perhaps channeling spirit in some way, or using the force, whatever you want to call that, right? It's just that's sort of my language that's coming through, but for you it'll resonate a bit differently. Anyways, the cosmic tree. Okay, so cosmic tree, this is the hermit, but because I just slipped up there with the cosmic egg, it's coming through as like this is perhaps the goal or the vision or the thing that you're working towards, the new path that's opening up, because it's like this one has the egg or the vessel or like the ability to create the proper environment for whatever this cosmic tree is. So it will grow into a tree, but right now it's in this stage, right? And so that's perhaps the new path. It's like there's some sort of vision or goal or dream or motivation or whatever you want to call this that you are now moving towards in a partnership that requires both people to be using their skills in whatever way, whatever that is. And then I tried asking, well, what is the scorpion? Why is this necessary? Like what's ahead that would require the scorpion? And the answers, or the two cards that I got here, the unknown and the death card. And I'm just laughing because it's like these are the two probably the most obscure cards that could have come out to explain that, right? It's like this, but it's like you're going into the unknown, right? You're stepping into some sort of uncharted territory, whatever that means. And then with this death card here, because the death card in this deck is the Fool, right? And if you just look at here, the numbers, right? The XX and the O, right? It's kind of bringing in this energy of like hugs and kisses, or just like opposites, right? Like complementary energies, like masculine, feminine, if you want to think about it that way. But it's also coming through, these two cards have never come out together in a reading, where it's like this one, it's kind of coming through as like a zoom in versus zoom out picture, right? It's like you and this person, this partnership is within this like jet stream, is kind of how it's looking to me, like the path. This is the path that you are now traveling together. And then this one sort of goes out ahead. It's like the path is curvy, right? It swerves. There's unpredictable sort of twists and turns in this path ahead. So one sort of goes out ahead is kind of how it's feeling, while the other maintains the space, or whatever, however you want to phrase that. But it's like, it is a partnership. It's moving forward together is kind of how this is feeling. So group one, I'm going to leave it there. I forgot to pull a Moonology card, so I will do that very quickly right now. So group one. Maybe it doesn't want to come out. This one. Conclusions are within reach, the full moon eclipse. I feel like that was the whole point. It's like you are receiving some sort of completion west energy within this in order to move forward on whatever this shared path is. So I'm going to leave it there, group one. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment down below. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Hi, Group 2. Welcome to your reading. Let's get started here. There are two very significant characters in this group. So we're starting off here with the growth plants and the fire ignition. It's feeling like an activation though today. And then here with this card, we have the animals. So I was really just drawn to the numbers here, 19 and 20. So it's a progression, especially because it's coming out with the same animal, right? So it's kind of like this to me is kind of representing, I see these beings as being sort of like an ancient, very old structure. So it's kind of feeling like an activation or an ignition or like reawakening is kind of how it's coming through with all of this fire, especially perhaps of a particular gift is kind of what's coming through for this one. Whoever's resonating in this energy, it's feeling like a very intense process of like reawakening or reintegrating or it just feels like an awakening or ignition or an activation of some sort. They're coming through with a lot of fire in this part of the reading, but I feel like it's more so just like fire was the activator. It's some sort of transition or transformation actually into like more of a water element is kind of how it's feeling, because all the tarot cards coming out are not fire. It's like just like fire was the activator, right? So it could be something like passion or anger or frustration or anything that's like fiery. That was the activator in order to get this one to awaken or activate or whatever it is. And it's a really significant transition point is kind of what's coming through for this one. Because they're coming through as well with these. So the Phoenix was the first card to come out, which is all of this like root chakra related energy. So it could be that there was an activation in terms of like in a very physical way, in however that relates to you, right? Like it could have been like very angry or passionate or fiery energy that caused this one to spread their wings is kind of how it's coming through. Like there was, because I'm seeing this as being almost like you needed this fire in order for the wings to be unfurled in some way. Like that's how I'm seeing this card. Usually I don't see it like that, but that's what's coming through today because of the other cards that are coming through. And it's also coming through with the cobra and the tiger, because I feel like whoever this is kind of feeling like, first of all, this cobra comes through as being when the student's ready, the teacher appears, right? So it's like, I feel like this one here, whoever's going through this activation is in an energy of the student. They're trying to learn something, or it's like they've encountered some sort of experience or situation that has activated them. Could be perhaps very difficult or like triggered by trauma even, maybe. Right? Like it could even be that. Like it could have been triggered by like a traumatic, in quotations, or difficult, or again, fiery conflict like energy, because that's usually why this tiger card comes out, is like whenever there's some sort of conflict or potential like need to use your intuition or your gifts or your third eye in order to navigate a difficult situation that perhaps might require an energy of protection or fighting back or whatever. Anyways, so there was a situation here, and with the cobra, it's like there's a need for a teacher of some sort, perhaps, or like intense learning is kind of how it's coming through. Because here I feel like this tiger, like this, whoever's resonating in this energy, the ignition fire, it's like they're in sort of a crossroads right now. Crossroads just meaning like having to make a choice or having to make a new decision or something like that, because whatever this activation is perhaps stirring up a lot of perhaps like past trauma or ghosts, right? That's what this card talks to me about. The ghost is sort of any energy from the past that lingers, or that is an attachment of some sort that is not wanted, right? And it's a negative attachment is kind of how it's coming through. And so this activation is stirring up a lot of ghosts, but it's like this one here has the opportunity to move in a different direction, or to clear the ghosts finally, or to get rid of them, or to like pick a new direction to go in, right? And that's why this cobra is coming out, because I feel like this one here is wanting to learn how to remove those attachments is kind of what's coming through. And because it's coming through here with the Three of Embers. So this is, again, this is the only fire element card in the tarot for this section, where it's talking about like this is the activation energy, right? There's some sort of fiery energy. There's a whole range of experiences that can cover, that caused this one to start elevating in whatever way that is, right? Their feet have now left the ground. Their wings have started to unfurl, or whatever it is, because of whatever this event was, right? And it's like, now that they're learning this, right? I'm seeing these ones as being the ghost energy, just because it's like kind of like they're still on the ground, or they're the things that are holding this one back from expansion, or whatever it is. And it's like this energy here is seeking a teacher, is kind of how it's coming through, or seeking guidance, or whatever it is. And I feel like they are going to be learning that, is what's coming through next, because you have here the Six of Lotuses and the Nine of Lotuses, which I love so much. I was watching this video of like surfers, right? It's like surfers. But there was one video where it was talking about like there was one champion, this one here, the Wings, who amongst a sea of beginners is kind of how it's coming through here. So it's kind of like this one here, whoever this one is standing out amongst the crowd, is kind of how it's coming through. They can ride this wave perhaps more skillfully, is kind of how it's coming through. With this Nine of Lotuses, right? It's like an influx of abundance, or an influx of perhaps emotional energy, or something like that. There's just a lot here to be, it's like it feels like they can ride a wave much longer, whatever that means to you, symbolically. Because it's coming through with water, though, it's feeling very much like the flow state. That's what this is talking about. It could be like, if you think about like a surfer, right? Sometimes you can drop in and out of the surfer, whatever thing, like it depending on how experienced you are, right? You can ride the wave longer, or you can be in the flow state for longer, perhaps, or something like that. Maybe that has something to do with this. It's like they have wings, or they're able to fly longer distances, or something like that, perhaps. Because the next card coming out here is this Eight of Trees, the Eight of Pentacles. So it could be related to work, but it doesn't have to be, but it's just bringing this energy of growth and abundance. This card specifically talks about mastery of a particular skill, is kind of what's coming through here. There's somebody who is perhaps being upgraded, or they're going through an activation in order to upgrade or master some sort of skill, whatever that is. Because it's the life map. The Wheel of Fortune is what this card is. The Wheel of Fortune, which is talking about like expansion and opportunity. But the life map also being that this is something that they are meant to be doing, or it's part of their path, perhaps. But I'm just seeing it as being like all of this information perhaps is like being returned to them, or being stirred up, or being released in some way. It's just all of this. It's almost like an explosion, right? Like an explosion of energy, or an influx, or like a flow, an explosion of flow. I don't know what that means, but it's that's just what's coming through. And it's like, it's perhaps like releasing information, or perhaps even memories. It's what's coming through next, because what's coming through the next couple cards, this is the secondary, or the other character in this story, in this dynamic. They're coming through as the water, right? This is how they came out together. One is this one who's being activated by some sort of fiery energy. And then you have here someone who is the water. I always see this as being sort of like emerging from the depths. There's like somebody who's being... Perhaps this activation is causing the water in this one to drain, wherever they are, is kind of how it's feeling. But it's also like they attract winged beings, is kind of how it's coming through, right? They attract ones with wings. And so now, because this one here, the one who is activated, has unfurled the wings, this one here is able to, like, it's like they can sense that, or they're now, this one is being attracted to the water being, whoever they are, because that's the nature of the dynamic. It's that this one attracts winged beings, and this one is now a winged being, is kind of how that's feeling. They're coming through here also as being like the peacock, which to me always talks about like being tuned into a specific frequency, or many different frequencies, like being tuned in, being able to see. It's almost like they are witnessing this transformation, right? They're witnessing this upgrade. And so now it's almost like they're opening their hands, or they're emerging, or they're revealing themselves, or making themselves known, perhaps, because they're coming through here with this energy, the Jupiter and the memories. So Jupiter being sort of that wheel of fortune expansion. So it's coming through a bit with Sagittarius energy, especially because of all of this fire, right? All of the fire, new opportunities, like some sort of philosophical path. I have no idea what that means. But anyways, with the memories, it feels like this one has gone through, because they're coming through kind of like as the crone, or a wise woman, or something like that. They've gone through this expansion before, is what this is feeling like, right? They've experienced it. So it is also for them, especially because it's like coming out of the water, perhaps stirring up memories for them, whoever they are. It's really interesting here, because I feel like they have something to say, or something to share, or something. So it could be that this one's a teacher, because with the Cobra, it talks about when the student's ready, the teacher appears. So it's almost like this one's the teacher. They're coming through here as being Karma, which is the Justice card, the Dream World, and the Dreamer. So the Karma card to me is just talking about balance, right? It's like, because this one has so much fire, you need the balance of that, right? You need this sort of watery energy in order to balance whatever's happening on this side, right? So that's just what's coming through as the karma, that they're coming in as a balancing energy, or as the opposite, in order to even out the energy distribution, whatever that means. And because they're coming out with the Dream World and the Dreamer, which is so fascinating, because this is kind of like, when the Dreamer is, first of all, the Queen of Swords. It talks about being elevated above a situation, right? So it could be that they have some sort of higher perspective, or it could just mean that they have more practice being sort of the queen at being in sort of this elevated state, or something like that. With the Dream World, it kind of brings in this energy of perhaps like subconscious, or memories again, or mystery is kind of what's coming through here. Or just, so memories could talk about like past, present, and future, like perhaps accessing timelines, perhaps, or the records or whatever it is, however you relate to this energy, there's so much there, right? It's like they have access to the watery realms, right? But in a way that is in a Queen of Swords manner, meaning I feel like they share that, or they translate, or they use their voice in order to attract or make sense of the dream world, whatever that is. Okay, and then the next card here is this Ace of Birds. Again, more swords energy, the Ace of Swords in this deck, which to me always talks about like being open to truth, whatever that is for you. It may be difficult, and usually truth can be very difficult. That's usually what comes through with this card specifically, just because this bird here looks kind of like not friendly is what's coming through is. And I'm just being drawn to this owl again to tie it back to the overall theme, that there's because the owl to me always represents sort of a blessing, right? The truth is a blessing, absolutely, but sometimes that truth is difficult, or it's like sometimes wisdom comes through pain, or sometimes wisdom comes through like difficulty or whatever it is. So it could be that there's something here that this wise woman crone has some sort of truth or understanding or wisdom because of their past experiences for whatever the fire ignition person is going through, right? It's like they're in the midst of some sort of upgrade or growth, and it's like this one has the experience necessary because they've gone through this experience. Perhaps they're having to again, they're serving as sort of like a role of the teacher is kind of how it's coming through, right? Like the wise counsel, perhaps, in order to balance this sort of fiery energy, because they're coming in here with more water. You have the Three of Lotuses and the Composer. So the Composer, just a fascinating energy. This is the Page of Cups. So it could be that their method of communication is very it's a page energy, which is kind of feeling like indirect method of instruction or communication, but it's like there is a certain timing to things is kind of what's coming through with the Composer, because it always talks to me about like managing an orchestra, right? It's like there's a specific timing where like certain groups have to be introduced at a certain time, that like if you were to just play all of them all at once, all of the instruments all at once, it would just be like a cacophony of some sort. And with the Three of Lotuses, that always talks to me about harmony, right? There's some sort of like harmonious notes or music that's needing to be played at certain times, like certain chords, certain groups, certain melodies, I don't know. But it's like that's sort of up to them is kind of how it's coming through. Whoever the water is playing the role of the composer, right? Like introducing certain groups of instruments at certain times in order to play the most harmonious piece of music, right? And it's like this one here is perhaps at a it's like they're the wave is coming is kind of how it's feeling like, right? Like it's almost like a wave of like elevation. And it's like this one's turn is coming, but perhaps it's not time yet. Okay, group 2. I'm gonna end it there. Again, I forgot to pull a Moonology card, so I may just cut this part out of the reading, but we'll see. So Moonology card for group 2. Take time to breathe out the disseminating moon and surrender to the divine, the full moon. All right, group 2, I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment down below. Thanks so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Hi, group 3. Welcome to your reading. As always, group 3 is always kind of like the more difficult or interesting group to go through. It's probably just a me thing. It's probably just like I just like end up perhaps running out of steam by group 3, and so it's a bit more difficult to get the message out, but it also because there's a lot more nuance in it as well. So anyways, so this group 3 is really tying into these two cards from the overall theme, the inner core versus the outer core, because I feel like there's something about here in your energy, group 3, of the difference between those two aspects of self. And it's not at all saying that you're being inauthentic or anything like that, right? It's just kind of talking about like the difference perhaps between your inner core, like how you feel on the inside or like your internal experience, versus sort of the outer core of how other people perhaps may perceive you. Or there is sort of this aspect that's coming through in the reading today as being almost like a performance, not necessarily in a negative, like shadow kind of energy. It's more so just saying like how you are choosing to present yourself, or your particular form of expression, or how you create or how you express yourself in whatever way that is, right? And I feel like that's what's being highlighted here, because the first two cards that you have here are the companionship animals and the gravity groundedness, which is really interesting because this is sort of the inner core, outer core kind of dynamic, right? It's like this is the outer core, right? All of this sort of sunlight, being surrounded by perhaps loved ones or family, friends, that kind of thing, being sort of like the center or the spotlight. And then for the inner core to represent this energy, because it's so similar, right? You at the center being surrounded by other energies. It's like coming through with this gravity groundedness of like, I always see this as being sort of like weighed down by something, but it's like there are people supporting you, right? So it's like, so it's kind of coming in with this energy of like feeling weighed down by something, but perhaps it's not something that you want to like complain about, or like it's not something that you are trying to like, it's because it's a situation that feels like it is very abundant, right? Or it's like there's a lot of blessings here, right? A lot of positive elements here that are really positive, right? And so it's like you don't want to complain about it, but there's something about the situation that is weighing you down for whatever reason. And it's kind of like perhaps because it's coming through here to describe that as being the 5 of Embers, which is really interesting. Because this card to me talks about like a controlled burn, meaning that I feel like whatever this situation is for you, group 3, it's like you have it under control is kind of how it's feeling. Or it's like you're doing your best to control the perhaps discomfort or whatever it is. Because this talks to me about sort of like having to be strategic about the changes that you're making, because you don't want it to become out of control is kind of how this is feeling. This is if you were to change your circumstances very quickly or like without consideration, perhaps it would cause like a much bigger, perhaps potential out of control situation that you're not wanting, obviously. So it's like having to make very strategic choices in terms of how you navigate or how you move in the situation or something like that. But you are perhaps slowly and steadily making, or perhaps like trying to, right? Like it kind of feels like with these two energies here, the eagle and the bear. So the eagle is talking about like trying to find a solution, right? Perhaps trying to find a way out of this, right? Because it's kind of feeling like the eagle to me shows up when it's kind of like you're needing to make a change. And so this energy is kind of coming through as being like showing you the way out or showing you the way to make the change is kind of how it's coming through. Like this is the solution. And the bear talks to me about like it's been coming through recently as an energy that's feeling very sleepy or drained, right? Like coming out of hibernation, but there's like a grogginess to it, right? It's like kind of like perhaps waking up and feeling tired still. It's that kind of energy, right? There's just a grogginess because of perhaps whatever the situation is kind of how it's feeling. But there is this sort of energy here, again, with this inner core, outer core dynamic, where it's like there are, I feel like you're finding ways in which to perhaps like soothe yourself or calm yourself or something like that, perhaps through, it's coming through here, because I'm seeing this as like, the next cards coming out are the Comfort Hearth, right? So it could be with loved ones, that kind of thing, the ones that are closest to you. And this speaking your word voice. So this card is coming through as being somebody who's perhaps at a distance. It may be, the dynamic between this can vary, like how it comes through. So it could be somebody like your partner or somebody who's close to you, or like your best friend or whatever, somebody like this that you go to, or like the person that you go to at the end of the day when you're sort of relaxing, is kind of how it's feeling like. Or it could be somebody who's like, that you don't even know, like a celebrity, or like somebody on a show is kind of how it's coming through. Or like there's like somebody that you interact with purely through like television or whatever, right? Like a celebrity or show. Because the reason why it's coming through like that is this music card with the gramophone in both of these cards. It's like the gramophone is like the device, like technology, like the TV or the phone or whatever. This one's coming out of that. The screen is kind of how it's coming through. There's some form of expression. This is coming through very much as that person's outer core, right? How they present themselves, their form of expression, their art form, how they express their creativity, that kind of thing. And it's kind of like this is you sitting on the couch with your pets and your kids and like watching this one on the screen, for example. That's kind of how it's coming through. Because it's kind of like this one brings relief to whatever the situation is, right? It's like this one brings, it's kind of coming through as like all of this sort of the wateriness. You have here the Four of Lotuses, which is kind of like coming in after this, right? Like all of this sort of like just soothing water that just soothes whatever this like irritation or whatever this is, right? And it's like this, because it's coming out here next, because it's also coming through as the Miracles card, which is just talking about that. Very simple. It just feels like extremely simple. It takes your mind off of things, right? Like it just like there's no thinking, or it just feels like peace is kind of how it's feeling. And it's coming through as these two 7 cards, the 7 of Lotuses and the 7 of Birds. So this 7 of Lotuses I always talk about as being like, this is sort of like the relief or the refuge from whatever is going on outside, right? Like in the environment. This is where you and this other, whether or not they are known to you or not, or if it like just represents sort of a general energy, it's like this is because it's coming through as being like your inner core, right? This inner core aspect is the same with these two frogs sort of matching, right? Or it's that like, it's like their inner core, what they're not necessarily presenting directly, but it's like their outer expression is a reflection of that, obviously. Their outer core is somehow helping to relieve whatever this discomfort is internally, is kind of how it's feeling, right? That's why that there's a connection here, because it feels like here with the 7 of Birds, it's providing direction or alignment is kind of how it's feeling. It's like showing you direction again, right? It's almost like it's providing a focus perhaps, or like the future vision or something like that, or like what you're working towards. Maybe it's like in just sort of being in this state, there's direction, or there's focus, or because this just feels like a very peaceful flight is kind of how it's feeling. Like there's just peace is what it's coming through as. And it's like with these two cards here coming out, because you have the romantic and the entertainer, right? The entertainer, which is whoever this one is. Again, this is why it's kind of coming through as like somebody at a distance, right? It's like this is you sitting on the couch watching something on TV, perhaps, right? Something that's entertaining, for whatever reason. And it's like, I feel like it's because it's coming out here next with the Six of Embers. It's stirring up so much potential. This card is talking about, this is the Six of Wands, of course, talks about success, but it was also coming through as like a display, right? Putting on some sort of display, or whatever it is, like the show, right? But it's about celebrating the minor successes, because I feel like, and it specifically pointed out the minor success, because it's kind of like whatever your situation is here with the groundedness, whatever it is that's weighing you down, right? There's whatever this entertainer energy is, this energy here is trying to highlight here with like the sort of the juggling balls here. It's like they're trying to highlight perhaps a minor success of yours, right? Like something that you can celebrate within your environment that is perhaps you're overlooking, or you're not seeing, or you're not focused on, because this energy is weighing you down, right? There's like a lot of minor successes in your environment or circumstances right now that perhaps you're not seeing, because it's kind of like this is the Five of Embers and the Six of Embers. This is the uncomfortable situation, but somehow in interacting with the entertainer, whoever they are, it's putting perhaps your circumstances into perspective, right? It's like it's putting out whatever the fire is, first of all, and then also perhaps providing some sort of new inspiration is kind of how it's coming through, like new ideas, new something here, something stirring, perhaps, some sort of new focus or goal or something like that, in order for you to perhaps, like, this is the eagle coming in, right? It's like lots of options, maybe, right? Like not even just like one solution. It's like lots of perhaps little steps or little things that you can do maybe in order to like change your situation is kind of how it's coming through. And I feel like it's also bringing in sort of this interesting energy here of like the entertainer, what they're going through, because it's kind of wanting you to, especially if it's somebody that you don't know, or like a celebrity or whatever it is, right? Like it's like they're putting on a performance of some sort. But it's like there's some form of like, it's coming through as being like their inner core. You're not necessarily privy to their inner core is what that's talking about, right? Like you don't know what their internal experience is, but what this is saying is actually kind of like, if you did know, or like if you explored that sort of inner core energy of theirs, it would reveal something about like how their particular expression, or how their particular I'm just going to say expression or performance is revealing something about their inner core is kind of how it's coming through, because you have the camel and the dragonfly next. Because the dragonfly to me talks about a very significant soulmate, right? Like, so soul connection, spiritual connection, even at a distance, even if you don't know them physically, or like in your physical realm, they're not like somebody in your immediate environment, there's still a connection is what this is talking about. But today was really just focused on the platform, right? There's some sort of platform, because with this entertainer card, it's kind of feeling like this energy of like stuckness, right? With this vine here, or like the platform where they are standing. the where they are standing, I feel like is really important. That's revealing something about, like, it's almost like their inner core, right? Their internal experience is almost like wanting exactly what you have, is kind of how it's feeling. Like, it's like you are perhaps drawn to this one because they are showing you their outer core expression is revealing something that you desire, right? Because that's not something that you have in your environment, is kind of how it's feeling. They provide a focus, right? The example that's coming through with this is kind of like, for example, one of the things that I enjoy watching is sort of like the architectural digest videos where you can like see into celebrity houses, right? Like it's like this. They take a tour through celebrity houses, just to see sort of like their particular taste, like the design elements, that kind of thing. I just find that fascinating. I think that's so interesting, and it's like takes my mind off of things for like however long the video is, 10 minutes. And it's like I feel like it's something like, obviously that's a performance. The stage is set, is kind of how it feels. Like there's a set stage, the actors sort of go through, and there's a very sort of performative aspect to it. But it also reveals something about the celebrity, right? Like something about what they value, who they are, their design choices, their performative aspects, reveals something about their inner core of who they are. And so it's like, which celebrities are you drawn to and why, is kind of how it's coming through here. And then, because I feel like there's something here about like, because they're coming through as the camel, right? Which is really interesting. It's like something about carrying water. It's like they have space. They've created a space, perhaps, that reflects something that like contains the exact space that, or like the exact thing that you want or need or whatever it is kind of how it's feeling. Because you have here the 2 of trees coming out next, right? It's all of this energy of carrying water, right? It's like they've whoever this entertainer is, and it could be multiple people, right? Like just all the people that you are drawn to in media, let's say, they have perhaps created some form of expression that carries all of the important values or things that you need or enjoy or something like that. And it's like, I feel like that's providing perhaps a focus for you of like, that's what you're going towards, that's what you're trying to create kind of energy. It's just feeling like an energy of like you're being inspired by a particular person or entertainer or celebrity or something like that, that's providing direction or providing you the way out, is kind of how it's feeling. But there's, with this 2 of trees, it comes in with this energy of like, it takes a bit of effort. You have to actually bring water to these plants, right? You actually have to like put in effort to move towards the goal, is kind of how it's coming through, right? With the camel especially, it talks about like having to carry water through an environment that's difficult or long or arduous, or through a period of not a lot of resources, right? That's kind of what's coming through here. With a life on earth as well. This is the World card in this deck, but it's kind of just feeling like this is like the inner core between you and this entertainer. Somebody perhaps that you don't know well or is at a distance to you are representing like almost like a perfect match or like a harmonious balance that you are wanting to create in your life or needing or whatever it is. That's kind of how it's coming through. Just something to consider. There's no like message in this reading. It's just kind of like highlighting a potential new inspiring energy, is kind of how that's feeling. Okay. So you have 3 Moonology cards to end this reading. The first one says, bring love into the situation, the new moon in Aquarius. And it's all of this sort of carrying water energy. And then you have luck is on your side, the new moon in Sagittarius. And finally, a new romantic cycle begins, the new moon in Libra, which to me is not necessarily representing a romantic partnership, but more so like something that you love, right? Like something that is inspiring to you, something that you desire. It's also bringing in all this element of like design, right? Like designing your perfect space or house or whatever it is. Okay, group 3, I'm going to end it there. If this message resonated with you, please consider subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment down below. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.